was at that time only that I found out how much he was admired in the Catholic Church by Catholics themselves and by the Catholic clergy, especially the four clergy whom Arnold and I got to know very well when I was in Karachi. So it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience. Father Bonimendes, Father D'Souza, and I forget his other name. What was his name? He later on became Archbishop, and he also became Bishop of Hyderabad. They were fine people. They had so much to contribute. I think that's what I admire about Arnold. I think his belief in the essential active Christ is peerless. It's beautiful, and that is where I began to admire Arnold as a Christian. I found that there was no falsehood about him. He was a very pure person, very truthful, and that's what I admired about him. As a human being, the man is. He has his convictions, and you may not agree with all of them, but he has his convictions, but you admire them. He's a stickler for truth. That's Arnold. That's why I like him, and that's why I admire him. In fact, amongst my friends, there are very few friends whom I admire. Most of them are Christians, but some of them are Muslims. But I admire them, and they have the same characteristics. A stickler for truth, and they're willing to commit their lives to their convictions. That's what I admire about it. So primarily, our friendship began with our commitment to the urban industrial mission cause. And we made a lot of very good friends, both in the church and outside the church. Very good friends. And we really, I thought that we set up something that was well worth it, and the church, the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church combined, because this was an ecumenical venture. It would be a wonderful thing. And that's the first thing that and how it almost cost Arnold his life. Almost. I think this was in 2002. I think it's in 2002. There were things which Arnold did that we should have been proud of in the Christian community. I will not name them because that might stop Arnold's coming back to Pakistan. And in fact, I was warned by friends in the police that it would be wiser for Arnold not to come back to Pakistan, because we really wanted to see him, we really wanted to meet him and share thoughts with him. And Arnold wanted to come back himself, and I was told no, it would be extremely dangerous for Arnold to come back here. So, in a small way, I contributed to his safety, but the Lord looks after his servants, and Arnold is a servant of the Lord. That's what he is, nothing less. And I saw that in Arnold. I saw that in Father. He is a servant of the Lord. And the Lord kept him in 2002. The Lord kept him safe. In fact, the assassination attempt was made the day after Arnold left Pakistan and went to Australia. I can't say and don't want to say anymore, but we realized, at least I realized as a person, as a friend of Arnold's, as his brother, that he was, my family called him Mamu. And Mamu is the Punjabi for mother's brother. I mean, that's what my children regard him. They were all three brought up by calling him Father Mamu. Now, Father Mamu is a very strange term. Father means father. Mamu means brother of your mother. So it's a strange combination. But my children, they thought about him in very natural ways. And there were some instances when we wanted to talk to Arnold and have him share events with us. So he was very much around for my eldest daughter's wedding, and then he was very much around for my younger daughter's wedding. I forget whether he was around for my son's. No, he wasn't around for my son's wedding, but he visited them. He visited all three of them at various times and showed his love for them. He was a member of our. He was probably one of the closest members of our family. That's what Arnold was. So our friendship is based on relationships, based on total respect for each other, and the way he talks to my wife, it's one would think that he really is our brother, the way he talks to her, and the terms that he uses for. So we have a tremendous relationship, and I hope the good Lord will keep it that way for as long as we both live. I forget certain details, but my friendship with Arnold began in Karachi in '67. That's when we set up an organization to do work amongst the poor. And during that time, I found, I didn't trust Padris very much for reasons that are best known to me and very close friends. But this person who I had met for the first time was a Catholic priest, and I'm not a Catholic, but my goodness, I found him to be committed to a cause that we were both sharing, and there was a certain event that that we went through, and that event was making the organization, the PCIS in Karachi, removing an American missionary from the board. And we felt very proud about it, and I used to share this with Arnold, that maybe this is what we were brought on the board for. And he kept on saying, "No, Philip, that's not the. But I was at that time a hothead and extremely anti-American. So we have to get rid of these foreigners from our boards as soon as possible. And that's what I got about doing in the church and in the hospital, in this PCIS. And Arnold was dissuading me throughout. But that also brought us closer, somehow strangely. He kept on saying, no, Philip, I mean, we cannot build an organization on hate, on racism. And what you're practicing is racism. And I said, the hell with racism. This is not racist, Arnold. I mean, this is what Gandhi did, and this is what Jinnah did, to self-governance. And that's what we want. They said, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe in that. I think amongst all the clergy whom I know, both Catholic and Protestant, Arnold's love for the poor and his closeness to what he believes should be done for the poor is extraordinary. Extraordinary. I was, in fact, I was in the Horde at the time. This was in 1972. That I got to know the conditions of the brick kiln workers, and I started a movement for them. And they used to all come to our house in Waris Road in Lahore, and there used to be sometimes 50, 60 of them. And my mother used to feel a little upset by all this, because she wasn't worker-oriented. She was more intellectual in her pursuits. And I asked Arnold to help me out. I said, yeah, do something for me. She said, what? I said, we should get together packages of food, parcels of clothes for these people, because I think they're very poor. Mm-hmm. It's only much later that I found out that they were not that poor. Some of them were, some of them weren't. They were con men taking me for a ride, and I borrowed money for this because I didn't have money myself. I was a salaried person, and you don't get paid salaries, from the government to give to the poor. You get paid for a pittance, actually. And that's what I was getting. So I had to go to Arnold and say, you have to help me out. So it was so typical of Arnold to respond immediately. And that's what he did. He responded immediately, and he sent me 15,000 rupees, which I never returned to him, by the way. I should have. I never returned that to him. And where he got the 15,000 was he went to the board of the organization that we had set up, and he said, Philip needs money. So they didn't question him at all, because they knew his commitment to the poor people. They didn't question him at all. He said, sure, send it to him. The only one person who did question Arnold, because he didn't know me very well, was Ken de Cruz of Karachi. And he was a little sort of, he said, no, you can just come and send it to him. And Arnold said to him, knowing that his commitment was very close to mine, if he wants money for the poor, and if he wants money to give, let's do it. So I got the money, and I distributed the food packets and clothes, etc., amongst people, and started off a saving scheme for these poor people, which didn't end up anywhere. All that I did was I got these people to save money themselves instead of spending it on lawsuits and internal wranglings, etc. And it was Arnold actually who was so encouraging, that I carried on that movement from 1972 almost to 1976, when my mother died. And when we were, some Muslim friends of mine, we were collared by the brick kiln workers in areas near the border, what's that place called? I forget the name. They almost beat us up, and I talked to Arnold about this. He said, "No, Philip, you can't give up. You can't give up." But at that time, I was beginning to see that many of these skilled workers were not quite sincere in what they were telling me. In fact, they were telling me about, they wanted me to take political power. And I could have done that, because at that time the People's Party was in power, and I could have taken political power. That's what they wanted. And through my contacts in the People's Party, they wanted me to get them more funds and resources, etc. So Arnold was sincere in whatever he did for the poor. He was sincere, and when he was doing projects in Karachi, he started a housing project. He started a woodworking project. He started a school for poor Christians. He would have been extremely effective. He would have been extremely effective. No question about it. No question. Okay.